What if the adjectives you use to describe a group of people were not based on personal experiences, but rather a stereotype that was decades, even centuries in the making? How did we come to associate the term lazy with Black people, a community that has historically been subjected to forced labor and continues to contribute significantly to the society we live in today? The stereotype of Black people being considered lazy is not just a simple misconception. It's a deep-seated bias that has been nurtured and propagated throughout history. This stereotype emerged during the early days of American colonization, when Black people were enslaved and forced to work on plantations. In the 17th and 18th centuries, as the transatlantic slave trade was in full swing, Black people were portrayed as primitive beings who needed to be civilized and controlled. This narrative was a psychological tool used by white slave owners to justify the brutal treatment of Black people. To maintain their superior status, these slave owners began to label Black people as lazy, arguing that they required constant supervision and discipline to be productive. As we moved into the 19th century, this stereotype was further reinforced through the institution of slavery. Despite the grueling labor Black people were forced to endure, they continued to be portrayed as lazy. This belief was so ingrained in the society that it survived the abolition of slavery and continued to permeate American culture. Fast forward to the 20th century, and the stereotype of Black laziness was still alive and well, even as Black people worked tirelessly in various industries, contributing significantly to the American economy. Despite the progress made in civil rights, this stereotype persisted, fueled by systemic racism and discrimination. In the 21st century, the stereotype still lingers, even though it is contrary to the reality of the Black community's hard work, resilience, and perseverance. It continues to hinder progress and equality, and it's a stereotype that needs to be debunked and discarded. To summarize, the stereotype of Black people being lazy is a deeply ingrained bias that has been propagated for centuries. It was born out of the need for white slave owners to justify their brutal treatment of Black people and to maintain their perceived superiority. Despite the abolition of slavery and the progress made in civil rights, this stereotype continues to persist, fueled by systemic racism and discrimination. Breaking down this stereotype is not just about correcting a misconception. It's about dismantling a harmful narrative that has been used to justify discrimination and inequality. It's about acknowledging the significant contributions of the Black community and recognizing their resilience, perseverance, and hard work. It's about time we rewrite the narrative and challenge the stereotype. Because the only way to move forward is to confront the past, acknowledge the wrongs, and strive for a future that is just, equal, and free from stereotypes.